Okay, I think we're live now. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic Podcast. I'm really excited for my guest today. She really encompasses like all the fringe topics that I talk about on this podcast, plus some. I wrote a little blurb about it. I wrote, tonight on the Typical Skeptic Podcast, I welcome back Katie Bishop. And she's an author and experiencer whose book, Remember Your Torch, explores the awakening of humanity's forgotten spiritual origins. Katie shares her journey as a walk-in soul and a contactee since 2011, describing encounters with supernatural forces, hidden truths about our reality, and the deeper mechanics behind 3D matrix system and reincarnation's soul trap. We'll explore the same topics: walk-in souls and consciousness transfer, the holographic universe and false matrix structures, telepathy, dark night of the soul and spiritual awakening, MK Ultra, MyLab programs and targeted individuals, time travel and hidden control systems, the return of the sacred feminine and Magdalene codes, and healing ancestral and planetary wounds. And Katie's work encourages humanity to remember its divine origin and reclaim its inner torch, activating a higher level of consciousness and planetary healing. And I just want to show you guys, I have her book right here. She was nice enough to send it to me, so it's called Remember Your Torch. And I've been reading it. It's amazing, guys. So you guys should all go grab a copy of this, Remember Your Torch, and it's out right now. So you can get it at, I'm guessing, we're at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, everywhere, Katie, or?
Yeah, it's on Amazon and it's on my website. It's cheaper if you go to my website. So either one, but the distributor on my website, you have to pay for shipping. But a lot of people try to not use Amazon, so there's another alternative out there.
Yeah. What I like is the fact that you kind of touch on a lot of the more, and I think I asked you about this last time, but you kind of touch on a lot of the more like fringe topics that I talk about on this podcast that kind of like some people in like mainstream ufology are kind of afraid to touch on, like targeted individuals, military abductions or MyLabs, MK Ultra. Did you want to start off there? Because I don't think we kind of touched on this stuff last time.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to start wherever you want. Yeah, I mean, that's been my life since I walked in, being targeted immediately. Actually, it started right before I walked in. This is back in 2011. And at that time, I didn't have any of this knowledge or education. It was a different world back then. It was pre-COVID. So, this alternative media that we have now with all of these truthers, none of that was out there. So part of the reason why I wrote this book is because a lot of people who go through being a targeted individual or who go through experiencing something with MyLabs or military actions have no guidance, or they don't know where to start with their journey or how to make sense of anything or how to connect the dots. So that was a big motivator for me to share my story. And there's things in here that were really hard to share and really uncomfortable. But I wanted to put it out there because I know what it's like to go through that. And to have any kind of help, to have any kind of source by you to help you through that process and to help you through that journey of healing, because it's really all about healing and getting your soul parts back and being more confident in who you are and not living in fear anymore.
I agree. So before you were a walk-in, you felt targeted, kind of?
Well, right before the walk-in transference happened, I noticed I was being targeted really heavily. I was being followed. I had weird things going on with my electronics. I had weird things going on with my phone. At that time, I had a BlackBerry. Again, it's 2011, so everything was a lot different. But I noticed, I'm being, people are watching me. Something's happening with my computers. And I shared that with friends and my husband at the time, and they all thought I was paranoid. And then when I had the walk-in experience, I understood why I was being targeted, because there were many of us coming through at that time, 2011, 2012 time period, for this timeline convergence to shift us onto a higher trajectory for humanity's ascension timeline, the organic timeline. And they know, this is a controlled system, so they can see who's coming in and who's coming out. And they also were using technology to see future probability events, like looking glass technology, like AIs that can track people and say, like, this is the most highest probability that this person's going to do X, Y, Z. And so I definitely had a mark on me from the get-go. And I write all about everything that happens and how that all went down, or at least I share as much as I can without putting myself at more risk because I got into a lot of really dark situations with it, and I don't want to open up the door to some of those legal battles and things that I was involved with during that time when I was being targeted. So I have to be a little bit careful about some of the topics I go into with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, let's start here. Like, tell us a little bit, like, for people that might not saw our first show, tell people a little bit about yourself and like how this all started for you. And like, yeah, let's kind of do like a little bit of a refresher, like.
Yeah, sure. Well, and we kind of covered the basics. In 2011, I was a walk-in soul, and at that time in my life, I was married and I had 2 young children, and walking in completely shattered my life because I walked in with a mission and I was fully aware of that mission, and that was part of bringing forward this resurrection of the feminine principle. But it was also really important to bring through information about our origin story as a humanity, where we started, what our soul journey has been. And it was also to help trigger this awakening process, bringing truth, triggering the light in others, triggering the soul remembrance. That's why I called it Remember Your Torch. That's a big part of it. It's remembering this divine spark within you, because this process of breaking through the false matrix system, it's going to come from the remembrance of who you are as a soulful being. It's not going to come from technology, and it's not going to come from, Star Trek, or it's not going to come from an ET. It's going to come from within you. So this was ignited within me, and I wrote a book at that time. I had all the information taken away. I lost it, but I started a blog about the information that I walked in with. It felt like walking in with like a briefcase of information. It's like, okay, here's what I'm here to do. Here's what I am going to share with the world. And I was completely taken out, and no one believed me, any of the things I was saying. All of this information is out there now, but in 2011, people thought I was crazy. I lost all my friends. I lost my family. I ended up in the lowest point. I was living out of my car in a motel and working for $12 an hour as a data analyst. And over the course of the years, I was able to get myself stabilized and start this energy healing practice, which is a big part of what I wanted to do, bring back our natural healing abilities. Everyone is a natural healer. Everyone has those abilities. And so that's what I bring forth in my practice, especially teaching people how to heal themselves. That's the goal, is so that you don't need me anymore, that you know how to do these things. I went to, I did entity attachment release training with 2 of the best exorcists in the world, Dave and Cheryl Bryan. I went to alchemy school in Italy. I did a shamanic immersion program, and I write a lot about these experiences because I wanted to get some foundational skills in this world, in the 3D, really understanding the best way to go about creating Earth Bishop, which is the name of my energy healing practice. So I did all of those things. And a few years ago, I was able to leave my matrix job, which was like my full-time, 3D work job, and be able to do my energy healing practice and my online courses full time. So I have a monthly class called Sacred Mysteries Monthly, and that's where I share all of the information that connects the pieces of, all right, well, what is our origin story? How does the matrix tie into this? How did the matrix get started? How do we break free? What are we supposed to do? How do I remember who I am? What process do I go through? And I go through all of these things again in my classes every month, and there's a new topic. And like this Monday, we have a class, and I'm going to talk about money and wealth and fortune, and how this whole money system is, a false reality. It's part of the false reality system, and how we break free from that, and what true wealth means, and how we build wealth together through a healthy energy exchange system, not one that's based in black money magic. So that's a really long intro, but that's where I am today, and that's kind of the journey I went through, and I detail it more in the book. So
Yeah. So when did you first start getting into energy healing, and when did you start to take that on? Because I think it's fascinating, energy healing, and like some of the best energy healers can really like, I feel like a lot of the problems that happen to people or happen on an energetic level first, then that hits the physical, like so and I feel like sometimes if you heal the energetic, you can heal the physical. I mean like what so tell us about like your energy healing journey.
yeah, absolutely. And you're exactly right. Everything, all disease and all sickness, it starts in our energetic field. Your aura is really like your first level of your immune system. And when we have unhealed traumas or unprocessed emotions, or stagnant energy looping in our thought system, it gets denser and denser and denser, and then it comes into the body and becomes disease, and it makes us sick. And we never learn about how energy works through our human system when we're growing up. We never learn about that, and we never learn about energetic hygiene and how important that is, and we never learn how our consciousness creates. When you're thinking something over and over again, you're creating a loop for your own reality system, and all of these things are connected. So when I walked in, this was a big part of it. It was about understanding energy transference and understanding vampiric energy and parasitic energy and how badly that affects us. And it's all unseen. These are things that we can't see, but we only see such a small little tiny bit of the light spectrum. But the unseen realm is enormous. And the things going on with disembodied spirits, using people, harvesting people's energy, attaching to people, is something that affects all of us. And it's something that we have to be really aware of. And the whole system we're in, this whole false matrix system, it is designed to be a loose system, a energy harvesting system. It only can do that to you, though, if you're in a lower vibration, or if you are ruminating on old thoughts, if you're suppressing emotions, or if you're living in fight or flight. And this is huge, Rob, because this whole 3D false matrix system is designed to keep us in a survival mode. It's designed to keep us suppressed. But when you are able to get yourself to calm your nervous system and get centered in yourself and anchor into your heart space, nothing can attach to you. It doesn't affect you. Even when there's all this chaos in the world around you, you can be still living in your own inner peace. You can be free from this. That's when you are truly in the world, but not of it. And that is really the goal. So with energy healing, I have all different kinds of modalities that I use. It just depends on what the person's looking for. But I like to start with clearing. I like to start with clearing these cords, these parasitic energies that are harvesting. They're weighing people down. They're making people feel tired and sick and sluggish, and they're creating brain fog, and they can create distortions in the way people think. And so I like to start with usually 1 or 2 clearing sessions on someone, and then I like to start bringing in soul retrieval work, which is a shamanic practice. And we all have little soul fragmentations where we've been disassociated from trauma, or we've been whatever the situation was, we left our body, and not all of the soul parts came back. We were disassociated. And so what this does is it really kind of reconnects this is more of a neuron reconnection thing, but it's really bringing the soul back into the body, healing that inner child, healing those wounded parts that kind of it's almost like they're frozen in time. That's what it looks like on an energetic level. It's like going back to the moment when they were frozen in time and bringing them back home. But I don't like to do that until I've done clearings, because the soul doesn't want to come into a body when there's all these parasitic energies that have taken over. So we want to clear everything out first.
That's a good point. Yeah. And then once you clear everything out, then what do you like? So you're doing like a massive clearing to like detach any entities or disembodied entities that are hanging on to a person, whether they're aware of it or not. A lot of times they're not aware of it. Right. A bit like then you heal after that. Like you would send energy after you clear everything out. You want to clear first, then send energy. Is that kind of what you're saying?
You said a lot of really important things. First of all, most people don't know they have them, because entities, any kind of disembodied spirit that is using you as an energy source, they don't want you to know they're there. Okay. So, and they are working on a telepathic level. They know all of your thoughts. They know you better than you know yourself. So they're going to slip into the subconscious and control you that way. So you do not know that they are there. Okay. And when I say disembodied spirits, this isn't just about demons. It's about earthbound spirits. This is about archonic energy. This is about egregores. There's so many different kinds of disembodied spirits in this unseen realm. So
can I tell you what I had to deal with? I had to deal with like astral parasites. Like I know it sounds crazy, but like that's what I had for like the longest time. That's why I understand it better than anybody. And like still when a full moon comes, it seems like something's attached to like this futon I have behind me. Like I'll lay on it and I'll feel something moving in there. Like, I like, it's like, it's not all the time. It's every once in a blue moon, but it's like whatever didn't clear off me, or whatever cleared off me didn't clear off this thing in my room. Like it's like a futon, you know what I mean? And it's like something's like in there. You know what I mean? Like yeah. And it's crazy. Like, I don't even know what to do at this point. Like, I mean, like, like,
well,
have you ever heard anything like that?
Yes, it's all energy. And so just to break it down to its simplest form, all entities are really just masses of energy that have some kind of form of consciousness. Okay. And so they can attach to certain things, and you can clear this. What I would recommend is that you do a clearing of your whole place.
Yeah.
And really focus on lifting the energy up and out of that futon. You can absolutely clear that. And then what I would also want to tell you and your audience, what is so important when you understand that consciousness creates, is to always be visualizing a clearing happening and visualizing your space and your environment as clear. One of the things I like to use is visualizing like a selenite floor. Like visualize your floor as selenite and just like whoosh, absorbing all of any kind of dark energies or any kind of chaotic energies. Maybe you want to visualize your entire room as selenite so that nothing can stick to it and that it's being cleared and it's being washed away. When you do things like that on a regular basis, it works. It's something that has to be done consistently though, because it builds up over time. It's more effective the more you do it. That's why people, when you build a shield around yourself, it's not something you do just once. It has to be done regularly because that's what makes it work.
Yeah. Yeah, I know like a spiritual teacher who comes on my show, Tony Sayers. Like I like Tony. Like some people like, I think some people are against some of the stuff he talks about, but like I continue to have him on the show because I think he's a great, he has a lot of good points about as far as about like the holographic nature of reality, and like he talks about similar stuff we do, like target individuals and stuff. But what he told me is he said he has to constantly clear because he said because of what he does, he's under major attack. So he said he's constantly clearing, which would make sense, in a way that like people like us would have to clear all the time because we are probably under constant attack, because at the end of the day, it seems like we're absolutely in a spiritual war. Like, and Earth is the battleground for spiritual warfare, and it's happening right now. And like, when we put out information like this, it's like, it's going against the dark, and the dark want to win at the end. So it's all a big game of like, spiritual cloak and dagger or something like that. I don't know. It seems, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, we do. Well, yeah, I kind of feel like it comes with the territory.
Yeah.
I mean, we understand the nature of our reality, and we're literally incarnate to bust up this false 3D matrix system from the inside out. Yeah, you're going to be attacked. Yeah, you're going to have interference happen. I clear myself between every single session. I do a clearing every morning. I do one before I go to sleep. It just becomes part of who you are, and it doesn't feel like a chore. It's just it brings you back to your true self. It makes sure that you are centered and that you're grounded in truth and that you're not being distracted by all of the chaos out there all of the time, because we get so much from social media and from the internet, and it's just constant bombardment. So having a practice where it's just kind of built into your day that you're clearing is a wonderful thing. I think everyone should do.
Yeah. Well, we had a question from the audience. Let me see if I can pull it up. This is from Eric. He said, can you he says, Katie, can you clear I think he means V2K and dues on TIs and others? Like, is that possible to clear stuff like that, or is it like better to shield from it?
I'm so sorry. I was just trying to get the comments up. He was asking about V2K.
Oh yeah, it's Eric here. He says, Kate, I put it up on the screen. He says, Katie, can you clear V2K and dues on TIs? I would say that it probably be try to shield from that, but I don't know if we could clear it, right? Because that's coming from like a physical outside source, like a government or something like that. I mean, or is that possible to clear that stuff?
No, here's the situation. It's you have to treat it differently than you would an entity. Okay, it's not it. It's important to know. So the fact that you've been able to identify, okay, this is not, well, make sure you know, is this, am I getting this from an entity, or is this something else? If it's not an entity, clearing V2K and clearing remote targeted frequencies is a completely different process than removing an entity, because these entities that are connected to some kind of life force energy, except for egregores, that are outside of this, they'll behave and they will follow order of natural law. There is like a legal, almost like a legal system in the spiritual realm. But when you're dealing with something that's completely artificial and AI based, and it's a human attacking another human, they're just violating. And so what you want to do is you basically have to shift your reality so that they're not able to enter your field anymore. And so it's something that happens, you build up on a daily basis. And I wish I had a clean cut answer for this, but I don't, because it's a different situation for every single person. Everyone experiences it differently. The best thing that you can do is not give it your attention, and to anchor into the soul, the power of your soul, power of your heart, and to live through your heart space, and to not let it control you, not let it put you in fear. Try to do things that make you laugh and that bring you joy. And what happens is when you do that, it starts to go away. They are not getting what they want from you, so it goes away and you shift out of it. And I write about that. I have a workbook that goes with the book, because I had to go through so much of this healing on my own. And so I put all of the resources and all of the tactics I used. And part of it was remote frequency technologies and being a TI. And so there's information in this Reignite Your Flame workbook, if you're interested in that as well. But it's all about shifting your reality, because you can't control them. They're not going to stop. So you have to figure out what you can do to change and shift out of it. And I know that's frustrating to hear, but that's just the way it works. And that's a question, Eric.
So it's a gradual thing. Yeah, thanks. That was awesome. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the Magdalene codes. Like we didn't touch on that last time. What are the Magdalene codes, and yeah, do you want to maybe we could talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So this goes back to part of remembering that spark within your flame, that flame within your heart. We're experiencing a resurgence of the Magdalene energy, the true Magdalene energy. Now, when you look at the source of the Magdalene figure and the emanation, she is an emanation of a Sophionic creation, which means it's a creation of organic light from an organic source. It's not a creation that comes from an AI or an artificial system. This is she's an embodiment of the true original feminine. And we're experiencing this, all of us are experiencing this resurgence of this divine feminine principle, because the true divine feminine principle is really a balance of both masculine and feminine. It's wisdom, it's balance, it's truth. It's It's being able to love the unlovable. It's taking love in this transactional 3D world that we live in to another level of loving without boundaries, of giving a voice to the voiceless. It's glorifying the glory and the beauty in everyone else. It's triggering the soul remembrance in everyone. And you see people talking about this, and you see the truth about the true Magdalene character coming to light, and how her powers were just completely wiped off the face of the grid as far as the church is concerned, because they didn't want us to know who she truly was. They didn't want us to know her energy, and they didn't want us to know that, she's the wild card in the matrix system, and we are the wild card. We are the anomalies. We are the ones breaking up the system because we are of organic light. And ultimately, that's what this Magdalene energy is bringing forth. It's something that lives within all of us.
Yeah, and we had a comment from the audience or a question. This is from Nunya Business. I think this is one of your audience because he's kind of new here. It seems like he says, Katie, what's causing this resurgence of the Magdalene energy? My guess is it kind of like the return of the divine feminine or the sacred feminine?
Yeah, it is. That we're at the end of the cycle. We're going through the apocalypse. And when I say apocalypse, I don't mean scary Armageddon. Armageddon and apocalypse are two totally different things. Apocalypse is the unveiling. It's the unveiling of truth. So all of these truths about this false reality system that we've been living in, and this dark patriarchy, I hate to use that word, but that's really what it is. And I don't mean anything negative towards the masculine energy. The divine masculine energy has been suppressed as well, but we've been under this really dark control system that has suppressed the true feminine voice, and that is a voice of creation. And it's coming about, to answer your question, Andy. Yeah, that is coming through because we're at this apocalyptic time where all the truths are coming forward and being revealed. And we don't want Armageddon. We don't want this battle at the end of the ages. I think a lot of the Armageddon things that we're seeing are being forced. It's a Lucian system, again, for the false 3D matrix to harvest our low frequency energy. And what the divine feminine energy is doing is she's re-embodying this false matrix structure, which is what really happened, Rob, is this containment system we're in. This is like a bad copy of the original Earth, which was Tiamat. It's inverted all of that source coding. Now, the original creation structure, the original matrix, which wasn't a false matrix reality, was designed for us to learn how to co-create. It was designed for us to learn how to evolve. It was designed for us to experience a diversity of different life forms. And this was a beautiful consciousness immersion structure that existed. And the Anunnaki came in and desecrated it and blew up the planet. It's now what we know as the asteroid belt, and Earth was a big chunk of that, and that's what we're on now. And they built the false matrix system, which is this false reality overlay where they inverted all of the original source codings and they wiped our memories, so we didn't know what was happening. We weren't remembering who we are. And once you know the truth about all of that, it's very empowering. And they don't put this information in all of this disclosure and all of this galactic community that's out there. I don't know what else to call it, but our origin story from our life on Tiamat is not part of this multi-billion-dollar pre-engineered disclosure system. It's just not. And I'm telling you, this is an important piece, and it's a part of the divine feminine piece, because it was a divine feminine creation originally.
Yeah. And do you see a lot of this like apocalyptic stuff playing out in current events today, like with what we got going on in Iran and stuff like that?
I know. It's like every day something new, and it's impossible to keep up with. And
can I tell you, I've been glued to this war like ever since it started. Like I'm like totally against the war, but I try to be supportive towards America because I love my country and everything like that. But like I don't know. I'm so confused about it, honestly. Like, I've been trying to stay neutral and, like, like, be supportive towards America and be a patriot, but, like, at the same time, I hear so much stuff about Israel, and it's like, like, the evidence seems to be piling up against Israel, and I'm like, holy shit, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, some of this does not look good, and it's just like, it's almost makes someone not know where to go or what to do, because, like, you don't, you know what I mean? Like, you start to question everything. You know what I mean? You start to question things that you're questioning. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's, I don't know. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense.
It does, and you need to keep questioning everything. Okay, we don't want to be compliant, and we don't want to have blind faith in anyone right now, because that's what got us into losing our power in the first place, right? So we always want to be questioning the narratives. You're not going to get the truth on the mainstream media. I think you and everyone in your audience knows that. You're not going to get the truth on alternative media either. There's narratives that get put out there, and there's a lot of information that's intelligence that's put out there to take people off track. Because if you're watching something on Rumble or YouTube or BitChute, the dark side can see that too. It's not true intel, right?
Yeah.
So you're not going to get the full story, and you're not going to get the full truth. So it's important to understand that, and it's important not to be controlled or let all of this suck all of your energy, because that's what it's always been designed to do. War has always been a big loosh mass ritual type of thing. And for this in particular, the women of Iran need to be recognized, and this needed to come about years ago. The atrocities and the torture and the horrors that happened to the women of Iran should never happen on our watch as a humanity, period.
Yeah, I've said, I've had my friend Indigo Angel. She talks about, like, this as well, about, like, some of the horrors of what's happening to some of the women in Islam, and that's not all Islam, because, like, I know there's good Islamic people out there, just like the same as, like, there's good Jewish people. You know what I mean? There's I think there's good and bad in everything. I think you have to recognize that. It's like, I don't know. It's so hard, like, because it's like I was saying, like, there's so many conspiracy theories out there about Israel, but then there's a lot about radical Islam. You know what I mean? So these things can get your mind spinning. And if you don't check yourself and ground yourself, you can start to spin out of control, and you can start to formulate theories and, like, start to really hate. You know what I mean? But me, I try not to hate anyone, because, like, that's not it. It's the governments of the world that are corrupt. It's the people that are, that are, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's you know what I mean? Like, like, it's not the people. It's not the you and I's of the world. It's not the people in Israel. It's not the people in Iran. It's not the women fighting for their freedom. That's a good thing. It's the governments usually, which is the problem, and I feel like those governments are a lot of times are answering to non-human entities. You know what I mean? Whether it's the Anunnaki or reptilians or archons or whatever. It seems like we have some kind of, whatever that controls this planet. And it seems like they want to terraform the earth too, and, like, they don't want, it seems like they don't like humanity, so they have their minions who do their bidding. And I don't know. I spin off into, like, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent, but, yeah.
I agree with everything that you said. It is, the people we see on the main political stage, they're puppets. They're not the ones that are actually in control. And you're right, it goes off world. And it always has. It's always about control. It's always been about control. And that goes up to another realm, really. I mean, it's that ET dark negative alien influence that's been in control for hundreds of thousands of years. This goes back to when we were created. This goes back to Tiamat. It goes all the way back to that. Okay, that's what happened. That was a whole invasion. That was a takeover. The Genesis story that we're fed is just like a fairy tale. Our true origin story is that we were created as slaves for dark ET factions. So this is a war that's been going on for millennia. And we're now coming to the end of it, because we're at this apocalyptic time. And this is the most important time, with all of this chaos going on, for everyone to, again, go back and remember who you are and hold true to the things that you can control in your life. Don't let these narratives keep you in a state of fear. And I'll tell you another little secret trick about the matrix and how to make it collapse faster. It is by not chasing this information and not getting obsessed by it. And it is not letting it control you, because what happens is there's an inverse effect with time and the way you conduct yourself in a state of calm. So the more calm and grounded and centered and focused you are, the more the matrix system spirals out of control, and the faster they have to start feeding repeated programs. And that's when you start to see the loops, and that's when you really start to see the programming. So the more you can slow down, the more you can shut off distractions, the more you can watch news and get information but not become emotionally entangled or enmeshed with it, the better.
Yeah.
They can't feed off you when you do that, and then they start tripping up, right?
That's a really good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah. I was seeing if there's any comments in the audience. Well, let me see. I was think of a quite good question to ask you. What about MK Ultra? Like, have you had a lot of, do you feel like you were involved in some kind of MK Ultra before, like, all this, like, or my lab abductions? Like, was that a part of your targeting?
Yeah. This definitely was. I just want to address something, because I think this is really rude. There's the Andromeda, and he's saying, you're asking a stupid Anunnaki. She is an Anunnaki Magdala. I'm sorry.
Well, he criticizes every guest I have. He's like, don't let it get to you. He's like that. Like, I let him stay in the chat because he's been here for a while, and like, he doesn't mean any harm. He's not trying to hurt your feelings. Like, trust me. Like, he does that. He literally does that with every guest. Like I don't know why he does that. Like, like I don't like to ban people, but like, he got to just chill. Like, honestly, like, like, don't let it get to you. Honestly, I wouldn't. It's not, honestly, like, he literally does that with a lot of the guests. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah. So.
Oh, I'm not hurt. I just wanted to address the issue. I don't really understand what the problem is, but I'll just ignore it. It's fine. So I'm very open to questions. I love questions. That's my favorite part of the classes I teach is the Q&A session. This is, and like I said before earlier, the fact that we are able, it's so important that we keep asking questions and that we question everything, and that we don't let up on that. We cannot let up on that, because our energy is our consent. And so if we're just being complacent and complicit with what the agendas are, and we're just not questioning and going along with it, we're giving our consent.
Exactly.
That's how it works. So I honor questions, and I just wanted to see what that person's problem was with me, because I don't understand. And if they have a question, I'm happy to answer it. And I don't have all the answers. I'm always really honest about that. I love to share what I know. I love to share what I came in with. I love to share, helping people remember who they are, and understanding what that means, and that there's a difference between memories and remembrance. And I love helping people get through the targeted individual program and my lab abductions. And yes, that was a huge part of what I experienced it. And I wrote a lot about that. I can't believe what I went through. I shouldn't even be here talking to you right now, Rob. It's a miracle, everything that I've been through. And my heart goes out to all of these MyLab victims. And the sad thing is, a lot of MyLab victims think that they're ET contacts, and they think that they're part of a federation, or they think that they're, having some kind of experience. But it's actually a manipulation. The technology, the holographic technology is so advanced, more than anything we can think of. And a lot of people are experiencing voice to skull, and they think it's, one of their spirit guides. I know people that took the jab because their angelic archangel Michael told them to do it. All of these things. So we have to be really careful. The MyLab program and the ins and outs of the way the CIA and the three-letter agencies can control us through remote frequency technologies and through implants is extreme. It's more than you could ever understand. They can create holograms that are opaque. They can create plasma holography. I mean, the technology is huge. So this is why it's so important to use your power within and the voice of your soul instead of looking for something outside of you. Because when you're grounded in yourself, then you won't be manipulated, and you don't have to worry about all of these outside influences trying to target you.
That's a good point. I think it's a really good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. Did you ever have like alien contact from what you remember, or do you think that it was like absolutely orchestrated by like military or both?
It's been both. I've experienced both, and I write about both in the book. I can give you, I can give you an example of what I found to be an organic experience of real truth and real love, and one that was artificial, if that helps.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. One of the most meaningful experiences I had, and it was part of the reason why I named the book Remember Your Torch, was in 2021 I had an experience with a female being that looked transparent, like white, and this was at a very sacred location in my yard. And I'm not going to go into why, but it was a special spot, and she appeared, and it kind of looked like a ghost, and she had a veil. And it's important to understand that when you see the veil in all of this iconography, that's a technology. That's a technology to travel and project consciousness. So this being wasn't physically there; it was a consciousness projection, and what it ended up being was like a version of my oversoul, giving me guidance at a time when I was getting ready to come out publicly again. And I was going to try to share my story and share this information. And I was really, really scared. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I've never got upset before. But that's how this experience was so deep. And she told me, if I wear a cloak of humility, I will always be protected and not to be scared. Now, I cannot tell you, I cannot express in words how beautiful and loving this experience was. And when I had this experience, I saw like a row of ancestors bringing their torches and lighting the path. So that was a very real, beautiful experience that I would consider a contact. And the message was incredible. When you wear a cloak of humility and you go out there just from your heart space, you will be protected. So I got the answers I was looking for. Now, I had other experiences and other positive experiences, but that's just one. Sorry, it's hard for me to talk about that. It's just so intense. There's so much love that comes through. Just remembering that moment. The negative experience was, I believe it was from the CIA, and it was like a hologram, and it was like a Federation commander, and he was playing on the ego. He was like, oh, you're royalty, or you're, this, and you're part of the Galactic Federation, and you're going to bring truth out there, and we're going to make you like almost like a star. You're going to get to save the world and be Star Trek this or that or whatever. And it played on my ego, and I knew it was fake. I was like, this feels, it just felt artificial. So I told us get lost, but you can clearly see the difference between something that's a manipulation that's going to kind of play to your ego versus something that is very just gentle and love. And I don't even have the right words. I'm at a lack of words right now. I plan on sharing that story tonight, so I caught myself off guard. But you can see the difference, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You know what's real, and you especially someone that's like in touch with their abilities, like you are. Like you know what resonates with you, and discernment. So yeah, I would definitely agree with that. So yeah, absolutely. Like, and one thing I wanted to touch on was you said you have a sacred space in your yard. That reminds me of my friend. My friend has a pool in her backyard, and it's like her sacred space. Like but did you kind of have something similar? Do you feel like you have like a sacred, kind of go-to place like in your backyard if it's too personal, I thought it'd be interesting.
Yeah, I do. I have a special spot where I like to ground and where I like to meditate. And I also have a special spot indoors where I do the same thing, where I like to do, my morning meditation and focus and clear. I think it's important to have a space where you do that, where it feels sacred, where it feels special. So I think that's important to have.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Let me look at the back of the book to see if what else we can touch on, because I know we still have some time. Like we touched on target individuals, my labs, MK Ultra. What about time travel? You talk a little bit about time travel in the book as well.
Yeah,
And guys, by
yeah.
the way, you guys can get a copy of her book. It's Remember Your Torch, and it's on Amazon right now, and Barnes and Noble too. Or how do they get this book? Like if they want to,
Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's on my website. It's cheapest to get it through my website. So go there, or go because then you don't have to use Amazon if you don't want to use Amazon, but it is on Amazon if you prefer that. So you can get that on Amazon. You can also get this Reignite Your Flame workbook, like I talked about earlier. It really helps to see that you can save time and money.
Let me just tell you, I've only been able to read a little bit because me, I stay busy, but like I love the book so far. I think it's amazing. I think it's really good. It's really interesting. I would recommend everybody in the audience get a copy. Honestly, you won't, especially if you like the information Katie's putting out tonight, definitely get a copy of her book. So yeah, but, do you talk a little bit about time travel then in the book, or?
Yeah, I do. I talk a lot about time travel and how I experienced it and how it can work. And there's, ways that those of us we're kind of all time travelers, right? The soul isn't localized, so you can be experiencing different things at the same time, multiple realities. And so yeah, I as a walk-in, definitely what I experienced was what I call future memories. And I know that sounds weird, but I remember the future. Like I remember what happens. That's the best way I can explain it. And I know other people can have those experiences as well. It happens a lot in dream time too. You dream something and then it happens.
It makes you almost think that time's not linear in a sense. I've had these experiences as well. I've had weird deja vu experiences lately. Like some parts of me feel like I've done this life over and over again, like this exact life. Like sometimes I feel like I've been here, or a version of it, and I also feel like we have like lives in parallel realities. Like I definitely believe that we're in like this matrix is multidimensional. It's definitely layered, and people that are able to tap into their abilities can like access different levels of the game. It's almost like a game, it's just sad that, like there's crazy players in this game that treat this thing fucked up, and they treat children horrible and all the other stuff we're finding out in the Epstein files, right? That's the horrible part about this game. But the good part about this game is that if you tap into yourself and your abilities, you can reach these like certain states of like going to other realms. And would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We're not localized. The time is not linear. The goal is to be aware that you are both the player and the avatar in the game. And it's really important to oscillate back and forth and to zoom out and see from a larger perspective what's really going on, especially with all of this geopolitical chaos, to just zoom out and look and be an observer, and doing that for yourself in your life too. Zoom out. If you're having a lot of conflict with someone or something, when you take yourself out of the situation and just like shift your perspective on it and see it from a different way, and you almost look at it from that gaming perspective, like, okay, wait a minute, what am I supposed to learn here? Or what is it that I'm not seeing? then you activate more powers within you, and you become a more powerful player. And I always use the multidimensional chessboard as, the example of this multidimensional reality that we're experiencing and that we're co-creating together. And you can see how like there's different threads that go through the different dimensions and the different densities, and how they're all actually connected. So it's fascinating, and it is like a game, but it's a really dark, twisted game that we all want to come out of, and we need to just flip the script, and we need to take control. And Tiffany on here said, people need to practice better discernment. Oh my God, that's so huge. The discernment issue is a really big problem. Because people have just put their blind faith in someone, and this is a game, and characters can change, and people will flip, and there are people who will walk in or walk out. The soul is transient, and I know this sounds bonkers, but that's why we have to be questioning all the time. That's why we have to be using our discernment all the time. That's why you have to question all the narratives and all the agendas, and see where, follow the money. Also follow the energy. Where does the energy go? Why would someone want you to follow this agenda? Anything that is not based on a true organic ascension timeline that's going to have your soul come up and out of the construct altogether, that to me is an agenda. That's an agenda to get your attention, to grab your consciousness, to get your soul. Because when you talk about a spiritual war, it's a war for souls is what it is. It's a war for, these energy systems that animate our bodies. That's what the war is on, and it's a war on consciousness. So
we had another question here from the audience. This is from New England Dirt Road. He says, does your guest have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, I do. All my social media is at Earth Bishop, and I try to post a relevant clip every day, or something relevant, something that's going to help you. I'll post clips from my classes, things that will be, again, I only like to put stuff out there that's going to be helpful. I don't use social media for like, hey, look at me doing this or that. It's always going to be informational. So you can find me on social media under Earth Bishop. And again, I named my practice Earth Bishop because I want us all to be Earth Bishops. The meaning of the word bishop is a protector, it's a guardian. And I want us all to be protectors of humanity and of the planet that we live on. So that's why I named my practice Earth Bishop, but that applies to all of us.
I agree. And this one is from Eric333. He says, do you have any tips on recovering from timeline jumps? People who feel like they're jumping timelines.
I guess I need to know, are you, I would want to know exactly what you're experiencing. Really big timeline jumps. It depends on what you're experiencing. Sometimes it can feel really, really exhausting. Like it can be really hard to function. You could have a kind of a confusion, a temporary memory lapse. But ultimately, when you're purposefully using time alchemy, I call it time alchemy, okay? Because what you're doing with time alchemy, and this is one of the sessions that I have, if anyone's interested, it's called a frequency override, and it shifts you into an echo world. An echo, we're always creating parallel realities, but we don't put our consciousness into them because we're just focused on this one. But when you put your consciousness into an echo world of another potential, everything's based on potentials. You can pull that reality into what you're experiencing now. And that's what you can be rendering. So when you do that, you can have kind of weird side effects happen. You only want to do that when you're really based and anchored in your heart space and you want the best outcome for everyone and everything around you. And that's actually one of the rules for time travel. If you're using it in a benevolent way, you never want to create karma. You don't want to infringe on free will. It's always got to be done in the best interest for everyone's soul evolution. That's that's got to be the intention, and that has to be the goal. Now, of course, the military and other ETs who are negative use time travel as a weapon, and there's some really dark things that they've done with time travel operations to people and experimentations, and it's just awful. So I'm not talking about that. That's not the kind of time travel I'm talking about. I'm talking about a more organic. I call it it's time alchemy.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I like that. Yeah. I was seeing if we have any other questions here. Yeah. Yeah, I guess like we could take like a minute or two, guys. If you have any questions for Katie, put them in the chat, and I'll get to your question. I'll answer the best ones. And yeah, and I just want to say, while we have a big crowd here, tomorrow if you guys are interested in this, tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be doing a live meditation. I have the Arabian Oracle coming on. She's going to do a live meditation for world peace. I think we need it right now. So, everybody come tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. That's obviously going to be on a different link. I'm going to make that after this tonight. But I just wanted to say that while we have a lot of people in the audience, so people can kind of, yeah. Okay. And let me see here if Eric kind of followed up on that. He said, so you can teach how to jump continuously, not trying to do it, but would like to learn how to control it, he says.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're jumping in and out of realities against you're not in control of it. You're not aware that it's happening or how it's happening. That's a new one for me. I haven't had that experience where you're not trying to do it. I don't know. Learning how to control it, it's always going to fall back onto your awareness and living with a really strong intention of what you want to be rendering, of what you want to be projecting, what you want to be experiencing, and doing that in your sleep as well, because the spirit never sleeps. So we're really active in our dream world. And that may be some of what you're pulling in as well. Could be happening on the astral plane. A lot of us have experiences where we'll have an experience, something in the dream time together. And then that comes through, and in reality, maybe like a year later. And it feels like there's been a time shift, or it can feel like a deja vu. But I need to know more. I would want to know more details, Eric. It's hard to give a blanket answer on this because I haven't really worked with people who are jumping timelines so severely and they can't control it. That's a little bit new to me.
Yeah. And this one's from None Your Business again. He has a lot of good questions. He says, Katie, can you talk about some of the collapsed timelines in history?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of, let's see, a collapsed timeline in history. Well, what's really interesting.
Wait, I just got to say, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sometimes I do that, I get excited. But would Tartaria be a collapsed timeline? Would that be an example of a collapsed timeline?
Say a great example of this is Tartaria. Now, I love this information on Tartaria, and it really rings true. And it's something I felt so strongly connected to in 2011 when I walked in. Now, people will try to debunk it, and there are a lot of like fake AI photos out there with Tartaria, and there's a lot of disinformation about Tartaria, but don't let that make you close the door on it. There is so much evidence there. And there is so much truth there. And it looks like, you're using the word collapsed timeline, which is a great term. I would almost use reset is a better
word. I had Michelle Gibson on my show. Like, I don't know if you ever studied her work. She's really interesting. She's like a truther, you know what I mean? Like, but like, and it's on under my regular videos if you guys want, but she was showing examples of like, of old architecture that was before this reset. You'll find a lot of it in the United States, which I've been putting together this kind of, when I used to have Renetta Jones, she would come on and talk about it, the theory of like Pangea, that like once all the continents were connected, and with that, then there would have been a Lemuria, there would have been an Atlantis, there would have been a Tartaria, and these just would have been like epochs throughout our history that obviously we don't know about, because for whatever reason they've decided to lie to us and like, tell us these things didn't exist. But like we have like bits and pieces of like evidence of, I would say we have a lot of evidence of Tartaria, a little bit of evidence of Atlantis, and maybe a little bit of evidence of Lemuria and whatever else. But I mean, yeah, what do you think about that? Like,
yeah, I agree with all of that. I think, especially when you look at a lot of the older maps, and they're fascinating and it's really interesting. And even some of the older maps have, areas of Terra de Isa, or Mer de Isa, the land of Jesus, the water of Jesus. There's all of these lands and things. And I do believe that some of this stuff is put out there to throw us off track, but I do think there's been huge resets where we've had collective amnesia, and that there's been, climate events, there's been floods, there's been things to wipe out the evidence. And I see the Tartaria as part of the original source coding, because they were creating using light and sound and harmonics, and they were creating structures that were self-healing, and they were creating structures based on free energy, and they were creating without a monetary system. They had a guild system, and all of this, there's some evidence that this was all taken away by the Rothschilds, and because it wasn't able to be taxed and it wasn't able to be tracked, and so this whole system collapsed. And we had like a collective amnesia from it. And, they were putting a lot of these beings that were part of this, they were breatharians, and they were putting them in mental institutions. And there's some really horrific things that happen with this. And I absolutely, so much of this rings true that I think we're going to get more and more coming forward as our collective consciousness rises, as we keep going down these paths of truth and looking for the information, asking for the information to come up. I think it's going to be more and more relevant, and more will be revealed to us.
Yeah, it's funny because like I always say, it seems like a lot of the things that conspiracy theorists were talking about are proven true. And it's absolutely true that the Rothschild name did show up in the Epstein files multiple times. And I believe that they just tried to get their names taken out of the Epstein files. Because I watch a lot of different shows, and I kind of overheard someone saying that. I don't have any proof of it, but I have heard that they are absolutely in the Epstein files. So it's crazy that like we put so much on this one family, but they absolutely did have some stuff to do with like what went on here. And like, it's not even like a conspiracy anymore. It's like they're in the Epstein files. Like they're definitely like, negligent. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy that a lot of this stuff is coming true. It's like, I mean, because I guess a lot of us probably thought about it before, and we were like, well, it's a big probability. But now it's like now we have evidence, and it's like, what do we even do? You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Well, we need to keep demanding that, we get all the full truth of everything, and that, people are held accountable. We don't just let it go. And it's important to know also that, these Epstein files are just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, this is the tip of the iceberg. It's connected to off-world slavery. It's connected to cloning. It's connected to genetic manipulations. It's connected to the UN and their fake charity organization Frontera Mar, where they, want to control the waterways. And it's connected to so many things. So it's the sense that it's out there, and more people who thought these were conspiracies are now waking up to the truth. That is fantastic. I mean, I'm having real conversations with, my children now, who always thought I was crazy. And they're like, Mom, you're right. And, I never thought this day would come. And so there's that. And then we also have to make sure that we're supporting the victims. Okay. We have got to support these victims. We have to hear their stories, no matter how painful they are. They deserve their voices to be heard. We have to learn how to support them. What can we do for you? Even if it's just sending them an email of, I'm sending you my prayers. I'm sending you my thoughts. I'm sending you my love. Thank you for being brave. All of these things it's important for us to come together. And it's really sad that it took such a huge atrocity to unite us. But here we are. At least it's happening. At least this is something every single human being with a soul can get behind, right? So at least we're unified in this sense.
Yeah, and I think no matter how much they try to cover it up, I think it's waking a lot of people up. It's serving a purpose to where it's actually waking people up. And I believe the same thing is, whatever people's opinions are in this war, I think a lot of people are smelling that something's not right with it, and I think that's waking a lot. I think everything, even COVID, like had a purpose, like it woke people up. You know what I mean? That some of the things that people put in their body aren't probably right for them, or what, sometimes some of the things that these organizations recommend don't have our best interest in mind. They have ulterior motives, and that goes into the targeting and stuff with nanites and like stuff. I probably would get the video taken down, but I think where I'm going with that, with the graphene and all that, and like the self-assembling nanites, and you know what I mean?
It's exactly right.
Yeah, it's
all connected. And we had to wake up in waves. We couldn't all wake up at the same time. Okay, that wouldn't be a really good plan. We needed some of us who have known about this Epstein stuff for years. We've known about the dark ET races, controlling this false matrix system. We've known about this for years. We had to go through our dark night of the soul first. We had to go through all of that pain, go through our struggles, so that we could heal, get to the other side, and then hold the light for everyone else that's about to come through it. So that's who you are today, Rob. This is who your audience is today. This is what we're doing. We're holding the ground for everyone else to go through this dark night of the soul, to discover the truth, which is so ugly and so horrific, but hold that light, that we can heal, that we can get through this, that we can make change, that we will demand justice, that we will demand leaders that are transparent, and that we will have leadership that is based in merit and earning it and experience, and no more of this political garbage that we've been living with. It's up to us now. Now we have the information, we have the truth, it's all documented. The ball is in our court to take control. We cannot sit back and give our consent away anymore.
I agree 100%. I agree 100%. Yeah. Well, this was an amazing interview. Is there anything else you want to cover that we might have forgot about, or anything you want to promote? And thank you. This was amazing.
Oh, I hope it was. I'm sorry, I got emotional. I can't believe that happened. All I want to leave it with is I want everyone to know how powerful they are in themselves, because you will change. We are the change. So when you are calm and grounded in yourself, you're going to see it reflected, and it may look extra chaotic at first. And this is all this purging that needs to happen. But we're going to come through. And I would also want to tell people is, don't see everything as a movie that you're meant to sit back and eat popcorn and watch. Okay. You have a role. You have action to take. You have a part to play. So I don't like a lot of the stand down psyops that are out there that are just like, okay, we'll just trust that everything's taken care of, because then you're giving your consent to something and you really don't know everything, and you shouldn't do that. So you should figure out, well, what can I control? And maybe it's something very small. Maybe it's just that you're going to do a clearing every day. Maybe it's just that you're going to be aware of your energy. It doesn't have to be, that you're standing on a podium leading a revolution, but control the things that you can control, and stay grounded and anchored into your heart space, and bring that frequency everywhere you go. This is how we will change the world. So I thank you, Rob, for everything you do. And I really am appreciative of your platform, because I think you bring a lot of different kinds of people and experiencers. And I love that, because not everyone has all the answers, and we should put all the pieces together, and then you let your audience decide. You're not forcing a narrative. You're not forcing an agenda. You're like, listen, here's what this person has to say. Here's what that person says. You choose what makes sense to you. And I think we need more of that, because a lot of what I see in like the galactic communities and some of these fake truther communities is they're actually forcing a narrative down someone's throat.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to do that at all. I just want to be neutral. And like, in most cases, I lean conservative, like, and, I have conservative values, but like in most cases, I'm neutral. You know what I mean? Even like with a lot of the ET stuff, like I like to be a little bit skeptical. I mean, I'm open-minded and I believe in a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? I've had my own experiences that kind of, but I still like to be neutral and like, yeah, but I mean, and that's why I say we go deep, you decide, because I say that we're going to go deep on the podcast and let the audience decide. And I've kind of, kind of used that moniker, and it's kind of stuck, and I think it's like the basis for the show,
Yeah.
So thank you.
We need more of that. You're doing a great job of that. And it's, so thank you. And I know you've been a targeted individual too, and it's not easy, and it's something that kind of never really goes away. I mean, I still experience it too. It's just learning how to deal with it and live with it in a different way that it doesn't affect you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's tough to deal with, honestly. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I can definitely see you're going to be a return guest on here for sure, because like you fit in perfectly with this podcast. It's like you talk about all the things that we talk about, so this is like you're like the perfect guest. So yeah.
Oh, well, thank you, and thank you for your questions, Andy. I hope he doesn't mind. One of the people I work with is Andy Z, and he just started a YouTube channel called I think the Z Frequency, and he's a great guy. So look him up, and you can find all my information and the class information on earthbishop.com. All my social media is at earthbishop. So again, I just try to put helpful stuff out there that's practical, that you can use now. I really try to ground in the spiritual realm into our everyday living, so that it makes sense and something we can use.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. This was great. Yeah. And thank you so much. And yeah, and I'll see you all guys tomorrow. And thank you so much, Katie. And